Hi, this is Mike from Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machines up here in the wilderness of Oregon's Coast Range. Some of you will know me as Leisurelander from eBay, and some of you who have been sewing for a long time will remember me from the earliest days of eBay as Acorn Cafe. We're going to do a series of videos showing you how to service your Singer 1591 sewing machine. And we're going to start, our first video is going to be the feed dogs and the hook assembly. I've already removed the screws here for ease of demonstration. You're going to start with your feed dogs, and most likely there's going to be lint impacted in the teeth of the feed dogs here. The feed dogs are the assembly that moves back and forth to advance your fabric under the needle to make your stitch. And if that's clogged with dust and lint, it's not going to be able to do its job right. So you want something fine and preferably with a little hook on it, but a sewing machine needle will work just as well. You want to scrape in between all of the teeth, between the rows as well. And just make sure that you remove any bits of impacted lint. And also check all around this area and underneath the feed dogs, because oftentimes there will be lint impacted under the feed dogs. And the tolerances on these machines are so fine that it doesn't take too much to slow up your action. So once you've got these cleaned, you want to brush it out. And vacuum it. Because, again, you want to get all of the dirt out of there so it doesn't get drawn by the oil that you're going to put on later into the assemblies and cause wear. This is your hook assembly. That's where your bobbin and bobbin case are. Okay, on its back. Your bobbin case has a little lever on it that releases the catch, so you can pull your bobbin case out. Your bobbin case, of course, has the bobbin in it. And there's a spring steel retainer clip here. It's held on by a thumb screw. You take the thumb screw out, remove the clip, and then there's a retainer ring here that sits on two little pins. Once you've lifted off the pins, it should just slide out. You may have to turn your hand wheel slightly. That's the retainer. The flat side goes against the hook assembly. It's slightly beveled at the top points here. And that side faces out away from the machine. After that retainer comes off, you can lift out your hook. And the hook is the part that rotates and picks up the thread from the needle. There's a little cutout or scarf here on the needle, and the point of the hook goes between the scarf and the thread, picks up the thread, and brings it around, wraps it around the bobbin, and lifts the bobbin thread up to make the stitch with the upper thread. While you have this out, inspect it. Look for any signs of wear or damage. If the point of the hook is broken, if the little pin is broken off, you'll just have to replace it. You can probably find a replacement part on the internet. Check for wear. Sometimes the thread will cut grooves in the steel. Sometimes you'll get a needle strike that'll cause a burr on here. And if there's a burr, it's going to catch on the thread and break your thread, which is not good. So if you have a burr on there, you can sometimes smooth it out with a little bit of 500 or 600 grit sandpaper. Then again, you want to brush it all out and vacuum it. Look carefully in all the crevices and nooks and crannies, and make sure that you get all the little balls of lint out. And then vacuum it. You want to suck all that out of there, because again, when you oil it, the oil will draw the particles into your assemblies. That's not good. So once that's clean, you want to place 1 drop of oil on this little ledge here, a little shelf where the hook rides. Just 1 drop. That's all you need. You'll notice that this is an oscillating round bobbin machine. The hook doesn't go round and round, it goes back and forth in an oscillating manner. This is an old tried and true system that's been copied the world over. You'll see it on a lot of different sewing machines. So once you've got it cleaned and lubricated, your hook goes back in first, and it just snugs right up here to the driver. See how it moves the hook. And that retainer, again, the flat side goes against the machine, and the beveled side here at the top faces out away from the machine. Sometimes it helps to rotate the hand wheel just a little bit to get that to set into place. Then your retainer spring goes up back on and holds that retainer in place. Your bobbin. You want to check inside for any signs of wear. Again, especially synthetic thread will actually cut grooves, and anytime there's a groove or a burr, it's going to catch your thread and cause damage. When your bobbin goes in, you leave a little bit of thread out. That thread goes into a slot here. I hope you can see it. It goes down through that slot and then underneath the tension spring. This is the tension spring right here, and it's held on by a tiny screw, which is also your tension adjustment. The best way to inspect that spring is to take the screw out carefully, lay it on a towel or something, or you're going to lose that little screw. Take the spring off and clean under there. Make sure that there's no crap in there. And I doubt that you're going to be able to see this, just because my camera is not going to pick that up. Again, don't lose that little screw. Then this little leaf spring comes off. You can see that there's a little bit of dirt and old oil in there. Usually you can just wipe it off. If it's really old and sticky, a little bit of rubbing alcohol on your cloth will take that off. But you want to make sure that there is no dirt or grit here that's going to keep your spring from applying an even tension. Check in here in the groove, again, that the thread hasn't cut a slot there. And the spring goes back on the way it came off. The end fits in the slot there. tiny screw that's going to be absolutely invisible to you in viewer land. Goes back in there to hold the spring down, and I'll do that later because it takes me a long time to get that little screw back in because it's so small. But once you've got that cleaned out, and also you want to check inside the leaf spring here for any dirt or crap or any grooves. So you put your bobbin back in there, thread goes in the slot under the spring, hold up the lever, slide it down onto the post, and make sure that the finger here goes in the little slot that's cut out for it. And that's it as far as the hawk and feed dogs are concerned. In the next video, we're going to take off the faceplate and look at the linkage under it, the linkage for the needle bar. So that's something to look for.